Hello everybody, it is Tuesday afternoon at 1 p.m. Mountain Time, and if you are here to learn a little bit about paper crafting, making a fun Christmas card, because it's July 25th, so it's Christmas in July, come on in. My name is Joanne Rogers. I am a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Central Alberta, Canada, and I've been designing with you in mind since 1999. So I hope you're here to learn and get thinking about your Christmas cards. We're going to do some heat embossing. We're going to use a stamp set that you may never have thought would be appropriate for Christmas. So as you come on, please let me know. I think I've asked this question before, but because it is Christmas in July today, let me know, well, let's ask it a little different. What is your favorite Christmas color combination? Your favorite Christmas color combination. I did post up on my blog today, and my blog is at www.designwithjo.ca, and you can go take a look at a very traditional Christmas card, but a simple one that you could start to play with right now, and you could create your own kind of ideas for Christmas, because we only have 5 months left. I know that's a little bit scary, isn't it? And it does seem sort of strange to be talking about Christmas when the temperatures are in the high 20s, in some places 30s, and maybe even 40s if you're watching from a really hot locale. So I'm seeing some folks answering the question, so thank you. If you're just coming on, the question is, what are your favorite color combinations for Christmas? Today we're actually not really going to be using a color. In my blog you'll see one of my favorites, but today I put a question out to my VIPeeps, which is my Facebook group that anybody can join. There's no cost, it's free, there's always lots going on there. You just have to head on over to Design with Jo VIPeeps, and you just put in your request to join, and I approve everybody, so it's just that you have to, because it's not public. And you guys picked a color, metallic color, that I wasn't really sure you were going to. So hello everybody who is new, who has never been here before. Thank you for joining in, and welcome. And please share this with all of your friends, all of your family, everybody that you enjoy conversing with on Facebook, because that gets my name out there, and I really do appreciate that. Again, I am in Canada. I am in Central Alberta, just outside of Red Deer. And I want to talk to you just a little bit about my brand new class. Early bird sales on right now for this class, 4 cards, and they are all a step up for heat embossing. So heat embossing, we're going to do that today on our live, but it is one of the favorite techniques. In fact, how many people here, give me a heart if you are a lover of heat embossing, because this class is going to take your heat embossing to a new level. So there's 4 different techniques on here, and there's some techniques within techniques. So there's more than one technique on a card, and so there's lots going on here. There's also, I always share tips and tricks, and I made a couple oopses as I was designing this class, as I was doing it, as I was recording it, and I thought, normally I edit those out, and I thought, wouldn't it be great for you to learn that I really do make tons of mistakes, and this is how I fix them, if it's a fixable mistake, and these ones were. So you'll learn how maybe you can fix some of the mistakes that the little oopsies that we have, that you have. So up until Thursday night at midnight, you can save $5 on this online class. It goes live on Friday morning at 8 a.m. You do not need to watch it. You do not need to be here at 8 a.m. I send out an email to say it's live, and everything is pre-recorded. And you have lifetime access to my classes. So as long as I'm around, as long as you're around, we both have access to the Heat Emboss Your Way to Wow cards. So again, the early bird ends on Thursday, so you do want to head over and register now, and you can do that over at www.designwithjo.ca/heat Heat Wow. So if you just type that in, then you will get over there and you can register. And thank you very much. You can pay through PayPal, or if you want to send me an e-transfer, if you live in Canada, you can do that. Just give me a little bit more time so I can get you set up so you can register. Okay, that's everything, but how about we show you just the live cards for just a moment. So these are the cards, and there's some cool embossing techniques on here. You can see that shine and a little bit of the molten that's going on there. There's fun cards. In case you thought embossing wasn't for sort of whimsical fun cards, this card will change your mind. So there we go. Those are your designs. One has a fun fold on it, so there's all kinds of neat things. Okay, we are going to play right now. So very, very few supplies for this one. We're going to also throw in some foil paper. This is just a scrap piece of paper we are going to stamp on. And I have a piece of Very Vanilla. This is thick Very Vanilla, and it is 4 1/4 by 11, and it's scored at 5 1/2. So I'm just going to fold that in half. Now the sample card that I'm going to show you at the end, I did slightly different, and I'll explain why I decided not to make it exactly the same when I show it to you at the end. Okay, so there's our card. We're just going to set that aside for a little bit while we do some of our techniques. So the stamp set that I'm pulling in and using for Christmas today is the Gone Fishing stamp set. And if you haven't seen this one yet, it is in the annual catalog, new in the annual catalog. And it really, when you look at it, you think, okay, that's only for guys. So there's Happy Father's Day, so glad that you're my dad. Great for retirement, congrats, good things come to those who wait. Lots of fishing, a lot of lures and things like that. But when I was playing, I thought, well, what about this guy right here? This is meant to be like a little buoy that you put on your, and I don't know if we have fisher women among us, because I'm not sure we have fisher men among us. Let me know if that is the right title for that, if that is considered a little buoy there. And I thought, how could we use that? So normally how we use that is we stamp it, and then we can stamp the red in the middle. Now I do have one of these here. Let me show you. So I did a few different colors here. So normally that's what we see, right? The red. And I did it with the black around it, and I wasn't so sure that I liked the black. So then I went in and I did one that is red. So red on red. So that's typically what we see bobbing, maybe it's a bobber, bobbing up and down on the water. So, you know, you could get away with a Christmas bauble, but I thought, let's shine it up, let's glisten it up with a little bit of metallics, and let's see what we can come up with. And that's what we're going to do today. So the VIPs decided that we were going to be working with copper. So I've pulled out my copper embossing powder, and we are going to need my Versamark, and I need my embossing buddy. So we are just going to emboss on top of our scrap piece of paper, and I'm going to do that on top of my Stampin' Pierce mat. So my Stampin' Pierce mat just gives me a little bit of cushion when I'm using a photopolymer stamp set. So if you've ever had a problem, especially if you work on one of those sort of gray-y, creamy kind of tables that you can pick up pretty much anywhere, Staples, or I think Walmart or Costco carries them. They're really interesting because they're not a super solid table. So when you're stamping, especially with big stamps, you may find that you miss a certain part. It's not you. It actually is the table, and it is the type of stamp being photopolymer. So a way to get around that is to use your Stampin' Pierce mat. And I just cover mine with some grid paper that you can see is getting a little bit inked up here, and it just gives that little bit of a cushion. So I have my embossing buddy, and this is one from a long time ago. We used to have, I can't even remember when this sort of logo when Stampin' Up! Changed the branding a little bit, quite a long time ago. But it'll last you, one will last you forever. You can get them now. We don't sell them individually, but you can get them now as part of the Embossing Additions Toolkit, which is a cool little kit to have. But I have everything in the kit, so I don't really feel like I need to get a new one. So we are going to stamp our little bauble. We're first of all going to take our embossing buddy and we're just going to slide it over top. If you pounce it too much powder comes out, in my opinion. So I just like to give it a little swish across. And then I'm just going to stamp this guy here. Oh, can you tell what color I used? Now, let's see what it's going to look like if I cover that. So if you ever have that problem, so I've just covered it with my copper embossing powder, and then let's clean that off, because obviously I didn't clean it off. Who does that? You guys do that too? Probably. There, I can see the green. I thought I had cleaned it off. And you know what? Your Versamark pad is super great for cleaning off stamps when they're dirty. So that's just my simple chamois that I use. Let's just see the difference. So now that it's cleaned off, stamp it again. Tiny little ghost of a green there. Tap it off. Okay, and now we are going to heat that up. We're going to use our heat tool. And I'm just going to warm it up. I usually just tell how hot it is by pointing at my hand. And if it gets really sort of burny, then it's time to move it on to my project. So I'm going to point it right at it, and then I'm going to move as soon as I see it change color. So you can tell me when we're done if you can tell the difference between the one that was stamped and had a green background and the one that was stamped without the green. Okay, so we are done. We'll just give it a little check there, make sure there's nothing that is sort of dark or not shiny. And this is one of the wow things about what we do, is the embossing. If you are showing somebody else, if you had a friend come over who has never ever stamped before and she's sort of lackluster, oh yeah, ho-hum, yeah, you do cards, okay, show her, I'm saying her, but show them heat embossing and you will see them change their mind really quickly. So can you tell the difference? Can anybody see the difference between the one that has green and the one that was plain? I can't. So if you can, let me know. So now what we're going to do is we're going to cut this out. And let me move this stuff out of the way. We're going to come back to that in just a moment. But we're going to cut that out using our Stamp and Cut and Emboss machine. We pull it in. I should have my little one, but as some of you know, I have recently moved, and most everything is in storage. I have minimum supplies here to work. So these are the Gone Fishing dies. So there's a die that goes right around that bauble. So I'm going to pull that guy out, and I'm going to go around the bauble. So I position it right over top. I check to make sure that I don't have lots of white or vanilla showing anywhere, and because I don't have my washi tape and I can't find my post-it note tape, I'm using a piece of masking tape that I've taken some of the stick off, and I'm just going to run that through. And I'm sorry if it gets a little bit wiggly here for you. Okay, so, and whoops, and there is our little bauble. So I have pre-cut several of these because we want several of them for our project today. We're going to pull this back in just a moment. I'll leave it over there for now. So now what we want to do is we want to actually lay out on our card what we want to do. Okay, so I'm thinking that we want to have some baubles that are going in all different directions. Okay, so I've got a few here and maybe even one over here. Now we could have them go right off the edge and I would then cut them off, or we could move them down a little bit. If I put it here, I like it, but I think that I could fancy it up just a little bit more. And that's where some more of our copper paper comes in. So I have the brush metallics is what I've pulled out, and the brush metallics have been around just a little bit, and but they're great. And if you've resisted these, then this is what they look like. And so I'm going to move them around a little bit, hopefully, so you can see there's actually like brush lines in these colors. And so in the package, they're 12 by 12, and they are foil. They're a heavier weight paper. One is gold, one is sort of a champagne-y kind of color, and one is copper. So I've pulled in a piece of copper, and I've cut this just to be 1 1/4 by 4 1/4. So it's going to go, in my mind, it's going to go down at the bottom. So what that does almost straight away is it grounds the card. So it gives us a little bit of a bottom to the card. We're going to play with it a little bit more here, but I want to do something else. So the other thing that I pulled out, now this is an old piece of paper because we don't have these things down here, but we do have the rose gold specialty paper still. So this is very similar. It's 12 by 12, and you get 2 each of all 3 of those. And you have one that's sort of a matte kind of finish. You have one that is a really shiny mirrored finish. And then this one down here is a holographic kind of iridescent finish. So I want you guys to tell me which one we are going to use, because I've got a piece that is 3/4 by 4 1/4, sorry, 3/4 by 4 1/4. And which one would you like to use? Shiny, matte, or holographic? And I'm going to do something to it to put onto the card. So I'm sorry that my light is not as great here. I'm hoping that I get to move into my new studio, and I was thinking 2 weeks, but it might take closer to a month. So let's see what we've got coming up here for bobs. Okay, Lorraine told us that that is a bobber, not a what did I call it? Buoy. The buoy would be much bigger, wouldn't it? Okay, so we have one shiny, and that's this one here. Do I have anybody else that wants to put in a comment? Shiny for Nadine as well. Looks like 2 shiny. Oh, we have a holographic. Deborah's going for holographic. Let's see what the next one is. Whatever the next one is, we'll go with. So after Deborah, I'm just going to wait 2 little minutes here. And shiny. So Evelyn is shiny. Shiny was popular. Okay, so let's go shiny. Now the other thing on these dies, for the Gone Fishing dies, there's this piece right here, which is meant to, I'm going to hold it up, which is meant to, I think, show waves. Okay, so our waves are little swells of water, and it cuts along one edge and it embosses the waves. So I thought it might be sort of cool to do that on top of this paper and add it to our card. So in order to do that, I know this is my cutting edge, and I want to put that as close as possible to the edge of my paper. In fact, I want them to run right up against the paper. And so I've got it upside down on there. I'm going to keep it in place with a little bit of that masking tape that I have. Move that guy out of the way, and let's pull in our Stampin' Cut and Emboss again. Oh, and I always do that. I have the handle going the wrong way. I'm going to put that on there, and let's run that through. There we go. Okay, I'm trying to do it nice and slow so that I don't wiggle you too much. Now, you could use that piece if you wanted to. That is a really cool little sliver of paper. I don't think I'm going to, but you know, we'll leave it there just in case. So now when I pull this off, what I'm left with is some shiny waves and a wave finish at the end. You'll see it better when we get to the card. Okay, so now let's move that guy over there. I'm going to move these out of the way. So now I'm thinking that we're going to have, now I'm not exactly straight here on my fold, so I'm going to pinch my 2 ends together and hold them down, and I'm going to try and correct that by coming from that corner down. Let's see if it worked. Yep, it's better. Okay, and if not, you can always turn it over and see if it's better, but I was able to salvage that. So I am going to put one, I'm thinking, down here. You guys can let me know if you think it looks better one way or the other. And I can either put my waves down at the bottom. Now I've cut my little pieces to be just a little bit over 4 1/4. Okay, just a tad over 4 1/4 so that I can cut them off. I didn't want them to be too short. So I can put them down there, or I can also put the waves upside down on this side. And then our baubles are going to go around along the top. Okay, so let me know, upside down, you think, or bottom. Put into the comments what you would like to see, upside down, which is where it is right now, or turned around and on the bottom. And then we are going to do the top. Okay, so while you're thinking about that, I'm just going to pull this in. I'm going to get rid of some of my stuff here. Get rid of that guy. Upside. You guys like the upside down? Okay, so let's do that. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to glue down the brushed, and I'm going to, whoops, I got a little piece of my masking tape. I'm going to pull in my silicone craft sheet to do that because I don't want to get too much glue. Whoops, this is a brand new, first time opened it up, glue piece of, not piece, new glue. New glue. Who loves opening something new and getting new? So I'm going to open that up. Put this right down at the bottom. I'm going to line up one side so I don't have to cut both sides in case it's a little bit off. I'm going to make sure that it's on there exactly down to the bottom. Now it takes a little bit of time for that to set up, and I'm going to cut them individually. So I'm not going to glue on that other one and then cut it. I'm going to cut this one first. I can see just a tiny bit of vanilla. So you're going to turn it over. There's a tiny little bit here. Run the shank of your paper snips right along the edge and just trim off the edge. Okay, now for this guy, same thing. I'm going to try and be very gentle with my glue. How many of you have had glue accidents in the past? And it's devastating. It's actually fairly traumatic, isn't it? Okay, and I've got that glued up. You can do the same thing. Turn it upside down so I don't get any glue on the inside of my card, just in case. And then I'm going to line that up with the top of the copper foil. So we have, it's actually, I think, a little bit difficult. I'm looking at my iPad and I'm thinking that's a little difficult for you to see, but I'll hold it up again. It is very pretty. It's just slightly different, and you would think that this is copper, not rose gold, looking at the two together. Just going to let that dry a moment, because now this might be a little bit, oh, I could do that. What do you think? Should I put that on the bottom of the inside? That is really going to try my, here we go. I'm going to use my little fine tip little adhesive that I've just put some of my white liquid glue in. Anybody thinking that it's absolutely the wrong thing to do doing this? I'm curious. It doesn't mean I'm going to listen right now because I've already started putting on my dots. But do you think, oh no, they are absolutely wrecking it? I've been known to do something not necessarily that I enjoy and like by the time we're done. And whoops, wrong side. Always cover up the tip. Okay, I'm going to take my tweezers, if I can get them to work. Whoops, because this is a very small piece. Grab that, and I'm going to put it right down on the bottom. I'm going to give myself a tiny little river of vanilla on the bottom too. There, it is possible. So now the front is probably dried enough, so I'm going to just also trim off the front. And while that is drying, I'm going to trim off this guy too. That actually is quite pretty down there. I have to agree. Okay, So now we are going to stamp our words. So you guys get to pick out some words. So this is the Brightest Glow, which I thought was perfect name for what we are building today, which is all about glowing and shiny. And let's see if I can make this any brighter here. I'm sorry that it's not fabulous. So what words would we like to put on today's card? You can really do anything. Let's not do Happy New Year, but other than that, you can pick any one of these and we will put it onto our card. And I'm going to take, how about the second person? So you want to be really quick. Don't type the whole thing. Just pick out a main word or something. So the second person that puts their title in there, and that's what we're going to go with. So we have May the, I think is what Mary is saying. May the peace of the season light your world. Okay, there's one. The second one, watching with you. I don't know. I think wishing you. Anastasia, I'm not sure which one that is. Hoping you, Nadine says. Season of Hope and Light, Carlos. So we have a little bit of everything. Season of Hope and Light is here. Shines Bright. Boy, we have everything. You guys really like this one, don't you? Shines Bright is right here. Anastasia, let me know. To you and yours. Brittle is saying to you and yours. So to you and yours is Christmas. This is great. Okay, so we need a little bit of a tiebreaker. Anastasia, put your title in because you actually were the third person. And I'm not sure what you were typing. And so I'll wait just a moment on that. So far we have to you and yours. May the peace of the season. Hoping your Christmas shines bright. Wishing you a season of hope and light. And Merry Christmas for Anastasia. Okay, let's do Merry Christmas. Let's do Merry Christmas. We could do anything on this one though. And you know what? I'm going to pick one of those other ones for the inside. And I'll just decide in a moment. But look, oh my goodness, I need a different acrylic block. Hold on. Let's see, is this the right? This one will work. I had to really stretch and I just about lost my microphone. Okay, so I'm going to try that. But what I want to do first is I am going to use my grid paper. This grid paper is getting really, really bad. And I've got it just on my Stamparatus. And the Stamparatus, very, very sadly, I could use it here. In fact, maybe I will. You all know about the Stamparatus and that it is really sad that it no longer is one of our offerings. But in order for me to get this really straight, the Stamparatus is really going to help. So let me put that on. I can actually take these pieces. No. Yeah, I could. Now I have to reach for some ink. Boy, oh boy. Stuff is everywhere today. So here's a trick. Hello, Chris. I'm glad you are here. So we are going to put our Merry Christmas up here because I want to have enough room to put our baubles down here. Okay, so it can even come down just a little bit more. So I'm going to stamp it. That to me visually looks like it's in the middle, maybe a little bit more this way. And I'm going to pick it up. Now for those of you who have a Stamparatus, I hope you are still using it tons because it is wonderful to have. And I've lost my Versamark. Here it is. But I do need to get a color, so I'm going to use a marker. Hold on. And the reason I'm using a marker is just because a stamp pad is a little out of reach in my makeshift room here. Okay, so I am going to get this in here so you can see. I'm just going to ink this up pretty, not all of it. I just want to see if I've got a fairly, doesn't matter that I've got it inked all or not. I've got better over here to tell me if I'm straight. Okay, so that's all I'm doing here is telling myself if I am straight and holy moly, I'm pretty darn good. You know, some days you have to go and give yourself the little yay pat on the back. Now, I do need to clean that off, or I'll have shades of the green situation happening again, which we found out is not dire, but I might as well clean it off. And I'm just using my simple chamois for that. Now, I want to let that dry a little bit. I'm going to take this guy off of here. These are just some of my grid papers. And, oh, do I have ink right there? Oh, I do have ink. I feel like I'm a little discombobulated today. And I think that's because I was a little later getting myself prepped and ready. Carol, I'm glad you're using it a lot. I need my magnet on the back here. I can probably do with just one magnet, I'm thinking. Put it right up there. Okay, so after all of that, I think I'm ready. I'm going to pull in and use my embossing buddy, who is your little best friend here. We're going to ink up with Versamark. We're going to stamp down. I'm going to check that out. Oh, good, I have a tiny little bit of green still there, so just enough to give me a little shadow, which I don't think you guys can see. And I'm just going to ink it twice. I just want to make sure that I have enough Versamark there. Okay, done with that guy. I'm going to clean that afterwards. Oh, I've got something there, but I think I can fix it. I think I've got a little bit of glue there, and I don't even know how I got that. So I'm going to take my copper and put it right over top. A little bit more than that. Give it a good flick on the back and inspect it for any little spots. I've got my little paintbrush here. I don't want any embossing powder on whatever that thing is. In fact, I'm going to try and get that before I emboss. And I have my adhesive remover, which should pick that up. It does. It was a little bit of glue that came from somewhere. Okay, so let's heat that guy using our heat tool. So this card by itself without a bauble is pretty. Maybe I'll let you guys decide. You could just create on the fly here. Okay, there's no two ways about it. That is a beautiful Merry Christmas. Good choice, Anastasia. Okay, so I'm going to let you decide. Do we want baubles? I think we do. If there's a huge hue and cry from people saying, no, no baubles, no baubles, then I'll stop. But I'm thinking that probably that's the whole point of the card, right? We want to see it. So let me move some stuff out of the way. I have junk everywhere. Well, it's not junk. These are toys. I have toys everywhere. So now let's put on some of these guys here. So I like them going in a bunch of different directions. So I think maybe, well, let's put him here. And I like an odd number. Okay, I'm just odd that way. So let's put him here. Well, no, let's put him coming back this way. Okay, and I'm going to glue down a couple of these, and I am going to, let's let that guy lie down. And I've got already have some dimensionals on here, and then we could even just put this guy right up here. Okay, so placement, not bad. Okay, just you want them looking a little bit whimsical. This one maybe could be turned just a tiny bit. So we're going to glue down, and we're also going to put one on with dimensional. So we're going to glue down first. So I can take that guy off. You want to glue anything that's overlapping. You want that to be glued second. So this one and this one are overlapping, so they're second. So I'm going to glue down my two outer ones first using liquid glue. And I'm going to try and make sure that I stay within the confines of the card. I don't want to have to cut anything off. Okay, so that is as far as I can go without having to cut something off. And I don't think I do want to cut anything off. I just think these are too pretty, really, to be cut off. Now, if I do that, it almost looks too... I'm going to do this so that they are slightly different angles. Move it up a tiny bit. Okay, and it does need to set up a little bit longer when you are on your foil paper. So there's 1 and 2, or 1 and 5, whichever way you look at it. Now we're going to glue and do some overlapping. Okay, so this one here, let's put him sort of this way, lying on his side. Again, why are these he's? I don't know. Anybody have an idea why this might be a he and not a she? We're going to put her coming the other way. Let's put her going this way, maybe. Okay, and I want to make sure that I don't have more space here in the middle than the size of my bauble, so that when I put this one right over top, it is going to cover them up. Okay, I think maybe we're going to do this guy. Could do that one upside down. I don't think so. I think like that. We're going to put that. So I'm going to put that on with dimensionals, and then we have some decisions to make, because we could fancy this up even more, or we could leave it the way it is. I'm going to give you the choice. I don't want this to be exactly the same angle as every other one on here, as any other one actually. I want them all to be different. So let's move that one a little bit more. There, that's better. See how that one's going here, this one's got an angle going there, this one's going that way, and that way. So we got 5 going 5 different directions, which is much more pleasing to your eye. Okay, so there is our card, possibly finished, possibly not, because I'm going to bring in and show you the card that I made, and I want you to tell me if you think we should add in this final step or not. Okay, so there's our card. Hard to see, well, let me take it off here. Hard to see that bottom, I know, because it is the copper showing there. But here's the other card I made, which was in gold. So a little easier to see. So a couple things that I did different on this one. I cut off the front of my card. Now let me tell you why I didn't do that today. I didn't do it because this card doesn't stand great. Okay, it sort of flops over. It's a little too high up. I would have needed to put my baubles down a little bit more, or not cut off quite as much. So I liked the idea of being able to stand the card up. So there's one thing that you can do different. I have a smaller piece of this is the distressed gold, and then the brushed gold. I'd used a smaller piece of that. So this one here, it went right over top of the copper, which I think is a little nicer look to it. And also we decided on going with the curves on the bottom versus the top. So this one I did the inside and the outside at the same time. But the other thing I did is I put in some of our Simply Elegant trim. So I want you to tell me if you want that on this card, or if you just want to maybe decorate it up with some of the brushed metallic dots. And I would probably put the copper on. So let me know what your preference is there. We will put some greetings on the inside of this one as well, I think. And we are going to use, I think, this one right here. The thread trim, we got 1 dots only. Do we have 2 only dots? From Chris and Debbie. What else? Who else is going to weigh in on that one? Okay, no thread. We have 3 saying no thread. Now I do want to show you, if you are a thread fanatic, you don't have to be a fanatic. If you're just a thread enjoyer, let's put it that way. Thank you, Sonia. This is the gold. So this is the, I'm running out here soon. This is a Simply Elegant trim. Now, the reason why this one is a little bit harder to work with is that it's really a much stiffer. It's a thicker little cord. I like the cord, but it doesn't make, it's not as flexible, I guess. But what I did, if you would love to add some to yours, I would give it some, run it around your finger a little bit. If you use your bone folder on this one, which I will also do, but the heat of your finger will at least temporarily put a little bit of a curve in it. If you use your bone folder, I just want to show you the end here, it actually, sort of hard to see, but it frays the end. Now maybe this one's a little bit better because I did something to it. So you probably noticed that this one's gold and this one's copper. So I created copper by coloring with my Stampin' Blend, and this one is the SU200. So this is in the deeps of the blend. So these are the additional pack, not the colors that we carry. Let me show you where those are, because I found it was the one that gave the most burnished kind of look from the for the copper. Let me find the blends here. The page I'm looking for is, where is it? Where is it? I need to tab this book, and I haven't done that yet. Anybody have an idea? They've got theirs out and said, oh, she's on, oh, here it is. I went right past it. So here, you might actually go right past it too. So here in number 9 are the Natural Tone Stampin' Blend. So I'm on page 136. And this is the medium or the deep? It's the deep, I believe. And so it is, you get a set of 2, and it is more brown. So if you find that you have, no, this is not. This is the medium deep. I'm sorry, I'm just looking up here. This is the medium deep here. So this is the medium deep one, SU200. And that's the thing, is they're not the same name, so it's sort of hard to tell. But that you can color and make gold into copper, no problem. So we can make our own copper stuff. I think we had a question here. Kathy, yes, they're the bobbers from the Gone Fishing bundle. Okay, so you can do that, and then make sure that you use glue dots, okay, to hold it down. So what I would do is I would probably do something like this. If I'm not going to put it on, but I would probably put, you know, a little curly Q on the end, and you do have to be patient doing this. You do have to be patient. So just know that it's not something that you whip off really, really quickly. Although this one did come together. This one here seems to want to stick out, but that's how you do it. Okay, that's how you do it with copper. We're going to use dots instead. Let me find my, take your pick. So take your pick, and I'm going to put some dots on here. Let's put copper right over top. And we'll put copper here, and we're going to put one more copper, and we're going to put it here. Otherwise, if I put it on the end, I think it just looks like it's too, like here, here, and here, sort of too regular, and I don't want regular. Okay, so let's pull that aside for just a moment. Now we're going to put some words on the inside, and it is all is merry and bright. I'm going to try my best here that it is going to be straight. So here's another little tip for if you're wondering about straight on these guys, if you don't have a Stamparatus. So put it onto your acrylic block, and then lay it upside down, and then look coming out from each side to see whether there are lines that sort of line up with your words. And I'm hoping that you can sort of see what I mean there. And this one actually looks not too bad. Let me look at it this way. Nope, it actually is a little bit high here. So then, whoa, now I'm really going the other way. Okay, so I'm just going to move it so I can see properly. It's sort of hard when you have your iPhone straight in your face. Okay, let's try that. Let's try that. Embossing Buddy. Versamark, And what's the worst thing in the world if this is crooked? What can we do to try and fix it? I'm sure there's somebody here that has an idea for us. Okay, put that there. Not too bad. Give it a flick. Get your little paintbrush out and get rid of that. Give it another little flick. Those little ones right in the middle, they're sort of hard to get. There you go. And I do have some tricks on removing specks in the class too. So don't forget about that heat embossing class. Put the same as a label. Yes, Evelyn, that's exactly what we would do. But I think maybe we got it. I think the card making gods were with us today. Must be because it's July 25th. Okay, so there's our All is Merry and Bright. I'm just going to close it up, but I want to give it just a moment to cool down. Okay, so which one do you prefer? Do you prefer the one that we made together today with the copper, or do you prefer the gold one? Which one do you think would be, which one do you think you might make? Let's put it that way. Okay, put it into the comments. We'll see again. And everybody, if, what's the word I was, it's totally gone out of my head. Sorry. Just another reminder that it is cash back from now until the end of July. So when you place an online order with me and you use this host code, it has to be $60, and use that host code, I will send you $5 in the mail come beginning of August. I was a little late getting the July ones out, but I'm sure they are being received. They have a couple folks on here who did. Have you received them already? You can just let me know. Prefer the copper. We got some both. Hard to choose, and the copper, yeah, really the copper, I was surprised when the VIPs chose copper, but you know what, it really does set it off, and I think using the vanilla really did a fabulous job on that too. Okay, well everybody, thanks for joining in. I'm glad you were here. I will be back again next week, and I can't recall if next week I'm on YouTube Live or here on Facebook, but I will certainly let you know, and I will just keep an eye on the Facebook page. Okay, guys, have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.